If you are standing against Putin and you are standing against the axis of evil, then you only have one choice in November, and that is Joe Biden. Under Donald Trump, if he is elected, America will not have another free election as long as he is alive. Under Joe Biden, in the instance that, God forbid something were to happen to him in the next 4 years and Kamala Harris had to take over as president, this country would be just fine. Geopolitically, we would be just fine. We would have a brand new election in 4 years where you would have two brand new candidates. You would have a new Republican candidate and a new Democratic candidate because all candidates would be termed out. If you want democracy to continue, there is only one option, and that is to reelect Joe Biden.
Donald Trump's called the US a fascist state, and the judge who presided over his trial a devil. He's come out fighting after being found guilty of 34 fraud charges, addressing journalists for 40 minutes at Trump Tower in New York City. The former president made it clear he didn't like being told what he's not allowed to say.
Now, I'm under a gag order, which nobody's ever been under. No presidential candidate's ever been under a gag order before. I'm under a gag order, nasty gag order, where I've had to pay thousands of dollars in penalties and fines and was threatened with jail. Think of it, I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by a lot, and I'm leading the Republicans to the point where that's over. So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put two sentences together, given by a court, and they are in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ, just so you understand. This is all done by Biden and his people. Maybe his people more importantly. I don't know if Biden knows too much about it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. We're dealing with a corrupt government. We have a corrupt country. Our elections are corrupt. Our borders are open. Our borders are going to be closed very soon. November 5th, remember, November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much.
Well, now let's hear from Ryan Wiggins, Chief of Staff at the Lincoln Project, a centrist Republican group, who says Trump's crimes cast a shadow over the entire United States.
I'll tell you who it's not great for. It's not great for the Americans, because there's nothing more embarrassing on a global scale than to have a former president of the United States convicted of 34 felonies for interfering with an election and trying to launder money through his attorney. So it's not really great for America. I think it's a blight on us. It's not great for the Republican Party. To say it's good for Biden is kind of a hard thing to say too, because what this has done is it's fired up Trump's base, because he has convinced them all that this is all misinformation and this is all lies, and that's not the case. So who this is good for is probably Putin.
Wow.
To be honest, I mean, he wants to cause chaos in our country, and right now there's chaos in our country.
Yeah. In terms of what Trump and his defenders have been saying, and we've heard from lots of them on our radio station in the last kind of 24 hours, they are saying that this is a politicization, this is politically motivated, that it's a biased result. And it got me thinking, actually, are they right insofar as justice in the US is something of a political football? And we see that from the Supreme Court perhaps down the way. But, I mean, what's your take on that? That actually, that is just the way it is. So their point is not without merit. However, that's just the way it is.
Their point is absolutely without merit. If you take a civics lesson in the United States, what you will learn is that the entire justice process is determined by a jury of your peers. And in this court case, both Trump's attorneys and the prosecutor got to pick the jury. And the jury came back with a unanimous decision that he was guilty on 34 counts. That's not politically motivated in any way, shape, or form. On top of that, in the United States, we have federal courts and we have state courts. This was in a state court. Biden had nothing to do with any of this. There were no politics involved in this. If the only thing that I would say politics may have been involved in is anyone else, any other American who got caught doing what Trump did would have been taken out of the courtroom in handcuffs and remanded into jail until sentencing. That did not happen with him because of his position. But this was absolutely not a political decision.
What can be done about that, if that is the front line of the fight, as it were, if it is about pushing back on this idea of a politicization of the justice system, which I suppose follows on from the completely unfounded suggestion that Trump won the election last time out, which of course led to the January the 6th riots, if that is the level of misinformation that is being served up, how do you fight that?
You fight it with real information. You fight it by reminding people that they are watching this with their own eyes and that this is not an exaggeration. You know, it's interesting when someone is constantly the victim, we would say that maybe they are the problem. And Trump is constantly the victim. Life is constantly unfair for him. Well, he was a multi-millionaire who developed the New York skyline. I don't know that there's anybody who is more privileged in this world than someone like that. Life has certainly been fair to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is getting exactly what he deserves, and that is accountability.
In terms of the Lincoln Project, and please, Ryan, if I characterize this incorrectly, please set me right. But my understanding is that Lincoln Project was established by Republicans who were somewhat disillusioned with Trump, thought he was taking Republicanism away from its origins, and want to sort of retrace to that point. Is that a fair characterization?
We are a pro-democracy organization that was started by former Republicans. There are a lot of people in our organization, and when Trump came down the golden escalator in 2016, were absolutely disgusted. We know this man. Okay, this man was not new to the lexicon in 2016. He had even run for president again. So these are Republicans who were like, there is no way that this man is going to be the president of the United States. And when he won, we all said, this will not stand. This is not a reflection of us as Americans. This is not a reflection of our values. This isn't a reflection of conservatism in America. There's nothing conservative about Donald Trump. He is not a Republican. He is a populist, and he is a wannabe dictator. And there is no place for that in our country.
And so then, we talk now at the beginning of June, with a presidential election in which convicted felon Donald Trump is a candidate, what is your message to Republicans?
My message to all Americans is you have a choice when it comes to your life going forward. And that choice is going to be made in November. If you like having elections and you like having a free country and you like having the respect of other countries and having allies, if you are standing against Putin and you are standing against the axis of evil, then you only have one choice in November, and that is Joe Biden. Under Donald Trump, if he is elected, America will not have another free election as long as he is alive. Under Joe Biden, in the instance that, God forbid something were to happen to him in the next 4 years and Kamala Harris had to take over as president, this country would be just fine. Geopolitically, we would be just fine. We would have a brand new election in 4 years where you would have two brand new candidates. You would have a new Republican candidate and a new Democratic candidate because all candidates would be termed out. If you want democracy to continue, there is only one option, and that is to reelect Joe Biden.
That's the thoughts of Ryan Wiggins then, Chief of Staff at the Lincoln Project. As you heard there, I think the implications of the Donald Trump verdicts are only just starting, aren't they, really? We need to wait for sentencing, we need to wait for appeal, we need to wait for the presidential debate between Biden and Trump, which will come just before sentencing, the Republican convention, which will come just after. It is going to be a Trump-heavy summer.
The language is so loaded. I think we get a bit immune to it. Donald Trump said he was honoured to be convicted by a criminal court and called the judge a devil. I mean, it's very difficult. There's no space really for nuance here. And I think it is too early to tell at this point really what the impact is going to be on the election in the US. So we'll be following it closely here.